Hi there, I'm Jackie. Now if you joined me for my last video, you would have seen how I created this sea glass mosaic of shorebirds. If you missed that video and you're interested in watching it, just click on the icon up above and it'll take you to that video. But today, I just got back from the beach and I took some video of shorebirds and of my sea glass finds and of the beach. Beautiful day down there today. So I'm going to share that with you today, and I hope you really enjoy coming along with me. Now the shorebirds that I saw today are called sandpipers, and they're the tiniest little birds. They're just sweet, and I really enjoy watching them at the beach. And normally they travel in flocks of thousands, but today there's only a few there because it's kind of late in the fall and most of the shorebirds have already migrated back down to South America, and they're won't be back until next summer. So I only saw a few today. There's still a few stragglers behind, but they're still trying to store up some energy. They're not quite ready to make the flight yet, but they'll get on their way here fairly soon. So I hope you really enjoy watching them. I know I had a wonderful time down at the beach watching them. So I just came down to the shore here today to see if I could see any shorebirds. It's that time of year when the shorebirds migrate, and they like to stop off here where there are big mud flats to feed on all the little fish that live in the mud flats. So when the tide's way out, they have lots of feeding grounds. But when the tide comes in, they run out of feeding grounds. And as the tide's coming in right now, there's not a whole lot of beach left. But they tend to come closer to shore as the tide comes in. So I thought I'd come down to see if I could see any of them. I see some off there in the distance. But it's just gorgeous down here today. The sun is shining. There's not many people around. I saw some people when I first came down to the beach, down at the other end. But I walk down here and it's so quiet and peaceful. Can hear the birds going. So I'm going to hang out here for a bit and see if those shorebirds that I've seen come a bit closer. I saw a flock of them flying before I got my camera out, and the sun was reflecting off their wings. They're little white birds, and they're so pretty flying in a whole group there. I can see a bunch of them way down there right now at the water's edge. And as the tide comes in, they're going to come closer, and I'll get a closer look at them. So as I've been walking along here, I've found a few pieces of sea glass. I found this really large piece of white pottery. It's quite thick, but not well finished. What happens here is the tide goes in and out really far and quite fast, so you don't get the crashing waves that you get at some beaches. It's more of a gentle lapping, especially on a day like today when there's not much wind. I also found some brown, not the most exciting sea glass in the world, especially because it as well is very rough around the edges. So none of this will be going home with me because I've got lots of sea glass at home that's much better quality. But I still can't help looking, and I still end up picking up the pieces when I see them. So there's some little birds on the sand here. They're looking at me kind of suspiciously. Normally you'd see them pecking away at the sand trying to find some food. But it's almost like they're standing still, camouflaging themselves against the sand. Oh, they're starting to move a bit. They're very tiny. There's just a few here, and they're not hanging out in too big a group. There they go flying. Oh, here they are joining their friends. There's the flock of birds that just came in to land on the sand. They're running around looking for some food. So there are over 1 million of these tiny little shorebirds that make their way from the Arctic to South America at this time of year. And they stop off here in the Minas Basin because it's great wetlands for feeding. So these birds are just stocking up on their food and their energy, having a good rest along their journey. They will eventually make their way down to South America where they'll be for the winter. And then they'll make their way all the way back up again and stop off here maybe on their way to the Arctic. So this is a great stopping ground for them. This is an extremely small flock. Sometimes you come down here and you see hundreds and hundreds. There's probably not even 100 here today. So these are tiny, tiny little birds. In fact, I was walking along here and then all of a sudden a few of them flew up in front of me and I hadn't even seen them sitting there among the rocks. The beach is getting a lot smaller here now as the tide is coming in and the birds are making their way closer to the shore. So there's a nice little flock of birds here, having a little walk along the sand on a beautiful day here in the Bay of Fundy in Nova Scotia. It's such a beautiful day and very peaceful and calm here, with the waves just barely lapping against the shore. So the tide has come in pretty fast here. When I walked down the beach, I had tons of beach to walk on. Now I'm going to barely make it around that corner. I may get my feet wet. But I did find a few more pieces of sea glass. If you look here, I found some white pieces, some more brown pieces, another piece of pottery. But again, these pieces are pretty rough. I don't think any of them are going to be going into my collection. But still worthwhile coming down here today. So beautiful and quiet and peaceful. And I've really enjoyed watching the birds. Even though there weren't that many of them, they're still so pretty and peaceful to watch. And the tide's almost all the way up to the rocks.